Okay guys, so in previous class we talked about many-to-many mapping and how to get API path, and we also learned how to debug the code. So in today's class we are going to learn basic OAuth approach, how to secure APIs, and before doing to that we need to understand some basic terminologies. So when we say Spring Security, it's about OAuth, right? Open authentication, which provides lots of features. And why we are doing this? To secure our APIs, the REST APIs. So what happens when you are doing this, or how you're going to use it? So idea is like whenever you are going to log in. Right now in our application, if we talk about this, we don't have that controller or any user related controller. So we will create that later. But for now, idea is once you have a login setup, proper user DAO, user entity, user controller, all those classes related to user, you will try to do a login. And once that's successful, you will generate a token. Okay, so you will generate a token. Then now it's totally up to you. This second step, whether we want to save that token in database or not. Okay, this is kind of optional. So if we talk about JWT token, so we don't need to save it. It automatically stores in the in-memory servers. Okay, in memory servers. Okay, we will create those servers and then you will see how it works. Okay, so second step is kind of optional. If you want, you can save it, but there's no need if you're using in-memory servers. And then once everything is fine from backend side, backend will generate a response which will have your token inside it. So it's totally up to you whether you want to return that token in normal response. Like if I use, Postman, so you can use that thing there, or in the body or response. If we have a response, if we have a response, it will have a header, it will have a body, right? So it's totally your call. Either you want to return token in your header or in your body. So there's no hard and fast rule that you have to return your token inside that. It's perfectly fine if you return in header or in a body. Okay, so that can be done, and we will see that how to implement that in our coding. Simple implementation will happen like we did in custom response. Same way, we will create one custom class and map all this thing there. Okay, so that's done. Now that's the graphical implementation. If user logged in, this side is user side, or not user, I'll say client, and this is server side, right? This is server, the square box, rectangle box, whatever. So client sends request, server will verify the user, verify the role in case if they are doing it totally optional, if they want to verify the role as well, then generate token, then return token in that response. So here I said when response goes back, so you can bind that response in your header. So it's totally up to your call whether you want to return in header or body. Okay, you can do that accordingly. So this is a typical scenario when you are going to or about to apply security. Okay, once it's done, let's move some you know more technical approach. So I'm saying OAuth. What is OAuth? It's a authorization framework. Like we have Java, then we have multiple frameworks over it, right? So once we have this security concern, so we need to use some kind of frameworks, some inbuilt frameworks which gives some kind of security or some way to secure our APIs. So OAuth is one of the best thing, and we are going to use OAuth 2.0. Okay, then when we use OAuth, so it works on multiple perspectives. I have highlighted certain things, not all, just basic approach. When we have this framework, it needs grant type. What's the role of it? What's the user role? So that could be admin role or user role or some other role you want to assign. You can do that. Typically, we deal with admin and user. That's how I'm going to use in our project. Then client ID and secret. Yeah, these are some certain things which typically goes in OAuth. So client ID means username, client secret means password. Okay. Then we might need to create some servers. Okay. So it will contain That's a typical scenario where you are going to configure your resource server, and there you will have multiple APIs in your application, and you want to whitelist them that only these APIs are accessible. If someone tries to access some other APIs which are not whitelisted, they won't get accessed by anyone. You will get some message or warning that this is not accessible or you are not authorized. Something like that from maybe from our custom response or maybe from Spring Security. Then of course in this resource server you can also have resources like static or dynamic web pages. Since we are developing APIs, we are not concerned about these resources. Okay, then provides access token like JWT tokens, right? So this plays a crucial role when it comes to getting those access tokens. Everything is same access token or JWT tokens. Fine. Then we have one more server allows apps endpoints by authorization. So that typically even the name says authorize. It authorizes the user that you are authorized user or a client, and now you can access multiple resources as per your authorization. So if one authorization is admin, that means admin can check every single page of your, you know, website. If just a user, so user can see only his or her profile and some basic details of the user, not everything. User cannot manage all users, right? It's just about him or her. But it's admin, so admin can access multiple users at same time, right? That's how it works. Okay, so that who will maintain it? Authorization server. So these are some typical servers which you will see or use when about to implement authorization framework. Okay, the OAuth. Okay, while you are using all this, thing, we need to we will actually use one of the uh, mechanism. We call this Bcrypt. This one. So Bcrypt is really a powerful tool which do hashing. So far, if you were with me when we were doing JSP servers, you guys remember we were saving multiple records in database. Maybe sometimes we also saved password as well. Let me check the MySQL workbench. So, mm, okay, not here. It's in different system. Okay, so there we create multiple tables which were having some password details, but they were going as a plain text. That means you can read password. So in real world scenarios, when you are dealing with real projects, we never save our password in a plain text. It goes in a encrypted way. So one way is encryption decryption, where you have an encryption, you can also decrypt it. So there is a concept of public keys and private keys. If you don't know about it, I'll definitely suggest if you're learning security, go out and check encryption and decryption. Okay, so just theory about it. Okay, don't need to worry about the code section. Okay, so check out what is encryption, what is decryption, and how public key and private key works. It's kind of a cryptography concept. So you guys should know what is public and private key and how it works. It's a theory concept, so you should know. It's really helpful when you're going for an interview. So public key and private key. Right, that's it. So some basic homeworks I'm giving here. You can also count this in a homework. Okay, this is done. So now we have some idea what is OAuth and this term. So let's go in more detail about this terminology. So OAuth is here. So what is OAuth? It's an industry standard protocol for authorization. It's not just about one or two projects. We are dealing with standard, the industry standard. Every single project we are talking about, which has a widespread users. So if you're using this OAuth, that means it is globally implemented by multiple projects. They are using it, and that's really cool about it. It is really good thing about for securing your APIs plus giving the authorization. These two things are different, guys. Authorization is different when it comes to accessing the jails. Okay, authentication and authorization. These are two terms which you guys should know. And authentication. Okay, these are two different terms and they have these are different impact. Again, good thing for you guys to go for your homework. Okay, some more terms for your homework. Let me extract this whole thing. Cut, not this paint. Okay, this is about Oauth 2. That 2.0 is a version. You can see this is 2.1, which will come in upcoming future. Okay, in upcoming releases, they might release 2.2. And these are some terms which you guys should know. I already gave you these stars, so check out what these things are, what these terms are, what's the impact of it. Access tokens, refresh tokens, scope, the code, client credentials, client authentication, and bearer tokens. These are really connected terms which you guys should know if you really want to answer someone in your interview. Because when it comes to someone ask Spring security, there are lots of questions around it. Okay, so these terms should help you while answering. Okay, this for that. Now Bcrypt, as I said, Bcrypt is one of the way for kind of encrypting your plain text. But again, it's not just encryption because once you encrypt something, you can always decrypt it. Encryption, decryption, they works together. But when it comes to Bcrypt, it's a password hashing mechanism or a function which do what? It's a one-way process. That means once your value is hashed, you cannot recover its original value. Yep, that's why we call this hashing is a one-way mechanism. Once value is hashed, it's done. Plus, if you want to make it more complex, more hard to break, the multiple hackers are there who they always want to break your password and access your data. So you can add salt into it, like we add salt in our food to, you know, increase the taste. Likewise, if you want to make it more secure, go for salt, this salt. Okay. So Bcrypt plus salt will give you more complex hashed data which cannot be recovered by or not easily recovered by. Okay, everything is possible, but yeah, we want to make it more tough for the guy who's trying to hack your account in case if someone do that. Okay, so this is about Bcrypt. So already took this from in this Wikipedia, so you can always go for that website and check out what is Bcrypt and get some more details about it. Here I took some data from the site. So it was saying some information about it. Now, if you notice, they took one example, ABC123 XYZ. They said, okay, this is your password, let's suppose, and you want to make it uh, complex by using hashing by Bcrypt. So what they did, they added some cost that is 12. Don't worry, we don't need to worry about it. It's just a theoretical concept and need to add some random salt. Okay, so this is your password, round up is 12 and adding some random salt that couldn't be anything, alphanumeric plus numbers and everything. And once you hash this password, it becomes this. So that's how it looks like. Your Bcrypt password will look like this one. Starting 2 3 characters, it's for algorithm. 12 it's cost. Then after this to this is your random salt which will be added by the hashing mechanism, and then after the hash value of your ABC23. This will get become more jumbled up, and of course it makes tough to break. And this is all the details about it, like what these things are. Hashing algorithm, the Bcrypt, then 12 it's a cost. You can say 12 to the power 12. That means 4096 rounds are happening, then only your password becomes this one. Then a random salt, and finally the complete hashed word. You can say a base 64 encoding of your first 23 bytes. So it's more tough to crack. That's a typical example, and once we implement this Bcrypt in our project, we will see you are giving a simple password like 123 something, and once you see the impact, you will get a big number which is completely different from your password, okay, like this one. It will have the same structure like this. So you can this a breakout of your complete hashed password. Okay, so this was Bcrypt. Let's move forward. Bcrypt done. Okay. And now we talk about JWT token. So for that, let's access the website jwt.io. That's its official website. You can say it says JSON Web Tokens are an open industry standard RFC 7419 for representing claims securely between two parties. Think about why we are using tokens. Why can't we again use username and password? It will make more complex, guys. Think about you have a page. Let's get this way. Okay, so think about this way that you have a user. This is our
सर
log. Yes, Putan.
सर आई थिंक सर एक बंदे को एक ही टोकन जनरेट होता है
Right, that's right. Per user per token. Okay, that cannot be
यस
shared
सर
by other users. So once you have a
यस
token, that means you can visit multiple places without uh, giving your username password again and again, right? So that's how it works.
यस सर
If you have multiple components in your project, like one, two, three, four, five, just giving you a random example, it's not connected with the same. So what does happens? Client says, okay, I'm sending my credentials. Okay, signing in. Now what? What we are expecting? Once that user is signing in, user can access everything. So maybe just to enhance some security, we just want to secure all these moving components. These are some different components, okay? Let me one project, one two project, and this is a back server, big server. So this is like connected this way, okay? Like this. They are connected. So user signed in and okay, able to perform some operations here in this first box. Let's call this number one. And now, because of some details or some requirements came up, and this component, you can treat this one service here. This service needs another service. Uh, Service means microservice I'm talking about here. So maybe you want to access again whether it's the same user. Who is the user, by the way? Is the same user who logged in one. So what will happen? One way is it will again give the response to the client, hey, I don't know who you are, sign in again. So again, user has to give all the details and goes back to 2 and it will perform again some operation. Maybe 2 needs some operation from 3, like 4 and 5. It's like a sequence going on. So not every single box will send a response to the client and says, okay, give me your credentials, then I will work. So one big solution or good solution is once user sign in, generate a token and share the token to multiple services. So they can rectify from the database. Token has all the information of your data, okay? Once you have your token with you, you can take what do we call that? Read that token. I'll show you how you can do that and check out all the details. Once you check the details, you can compare with the database that user is present in database or not. If both verifies, go for the operation. So you don't need to go back to client and ask again for the same credentials again to re-verify the user. So tokens are helpful in these scenarios and they are signed by multiple things. So you cannot just break it. Okay. You can always have a signing key that we will see what is signing key. It's quite just a string which has multiple numbers within it. So you can use that signing key that will be unique for you. You can make it as complex as you want. So that will be one signing key and that we will use in our code. So I'll show you that as well. So that's how it will work. Okay, so this is fine. So I hope it's now clear that client is requesting something and that request might goes from one service to another service and they again re-verify the user. So one way is give the token and just verify the user. Don't go for the client and ask again the credentials. So token will be helpful for there and token has all the information. How I can say this? Let's scroll down and check out. So that's how your token looks like. Multiple colors, red, kind of pink, and then blue. So red is your header, which contains what algo is used and what's the type of this token. So token type is JWT and algo is HS256. That's one of the, you can say, algorithm. Then that's about just header. Second section is payload, which is in kind of pink color. And you can see that's the data. Subject, oh sorry, subscription time when, and the name is here, the Joe, and when, at what time this token was generated, issue at. Okay, we call this I issue at. You can see it once you hover, it will say issue. That's the data, and this is the subject. So yeah, that's the subject, the name, and then when this token was generated. So you can always verify that token is valid or not. Maybe token also get expired. We always gives a time limit to that particular token, but after this time token should expire. So if that's happening, so you can always re-verify from the user that your token is expired, re-login and generate a new token. So we can always re-verifying again. So header is done. That's the payload. Payload will have all the information about the user. And last, the signature. So this has all the base encrypted data. Plus, as I told you that you will have some unique secret key in your code. That's your code. So you can use it in your code. I mean, put it in your code or put it somewhere out, like in a server somewhere. Make it safe so nobody can access it. And you can always use those secret key to verify that this is your signed key and this is your token. So right now this is a default page and everything is verified. If I remove something, you will see everything is error now. So every single character has some information. You cannot verify it. It's just because JWT engine knows it. And I'll show you again this page once we have a legit token from our code. So we will see all the information, whatever you're passing in the token, you will see it here. Header will be by default. We always use the standard, industry standard term, and plus the key we are going to use, we'll put it here. Right now you can see you can type it here. So you can type it, and if you write or give the correct secrets, only then you will see the website says yes, signature is verified. Otherwise, you will say signature unverified or something message. I don't know what it says. Forgot it. Yeah, invalid signature it says. So that's a typical way of learning JWT. So that's what I've explained here. So first section is your header section, which shows algos. Second section is your payload, which contains subject, then details, and then issue it, and then verify. Name right now, name is just one only information. You can add multiple things like it just has a name. You can also add some roles with the user that this is a user and this is its role, and that role is goes in your token. So from token you can always access the role of the user and accordingly load the data for the user as per their role. And lastly, signature, which is for us, which we will use in our code. So that's how our JWT token looks like. Okay, that is done. Fine, and that's the end of this theoretical section. Next, we need already gave you one homework, so try to cover up these things as well in your section. Like what is encryption, decryption, authorization, authentication, and Bcrypt and what is Oauth. Okay, and that's a typical way of using token based approach. Okay, okay, this is done. So time to start this uh, Spring Security implementation. Okay. Uh, okay, so let's start with, again I'll set up everything in steps. Okay, so step one says um, add all those libraries, right? First thing you have to add uh, dependency in form.xml file. Okay, that's the first thing you have to do. So let's do this. So again, you have to search it on web, or you can refer any website, or you can create um any random project from that website. That's start.io, start.spring.io, and give your requirements, and it will generate a structure for your project. So Maven, Java, let it be 3.2.3, doesn't matter. We are not concerned about this. Just make sure that you are selecting Java and Maven in the Spring Boot version. No need to fill all this information. And dependency and type security. Okay, Spring security. And once you have this thing, you can always explore here and open the POM file. And if you notice, it has one dependency, Spring Boot Starter Security, right? So we need this dependency. I copied it, going back to my project, the POM file, And let's put it here and remove the extra lines. Okay. And once you add your dependency, make sure that you are clicking on this Maven changes. So this will sync up your project with the local repository. And let's check. There's a build and it says sync 9:42 p.m. Yep, that's the right time. Okay, so it's done. That means we have added one security in our project. Okay, let's try to run our code. Okay, so watch this carefully, guys. I just only did one thing, one change here. It's not coming up. Okay, let's copy again. Maybe I copied something. Okay, okay, that's the library I've used. I'll show you some interesting thing here. Okay, guys, watch this closely. So I added one dependency, just one library, and service is executed. And we already know we have one endpoint. Okay, patient controller. If you notice here, let's check the database first. So in database, we have one record, one, two records. ID 1 and 2 is there. So what I'll do, I will try to request this endpoint, patient underscore ID. Or not, sorry, not underscore slash ID. So application is up. Okay. And let's go back to the website. I'll say um, local host 8080, and yeah, that's the endpoint. No, what is that? Okay, and requesting, and you will see because we have added Spring Boot security, this page comes up. Okay, I haven't requested it. By default, Spring Boot loads this thing because of this library we have used. Okay, and just one thing change. A second, guys. Let me remove this thing. I was testing something, so I added that. Let's start the service. Run it again. Okay, service is up. Let's request again. So local host, this one, make it proper. That's the endpoint. Localhost patient slash ID1 requested, and again you can see Spring Boot is loading this page. Okay, that's fine. So that's because of Spring security, as I said, or because of the dependency we have added. So by default, we are getting one default security. As soon as you add this thing, Spring Boot is giving security. So how you can verify it? How you can give the credentials? Scroll down, and if you notice in your console, okay, let's see the console. Okay, this is really important. Watch it closely. Okay, so everything's fine here. Spring OpenView enabled by default. Therefore, database query may perform during view rendering. Okay, and it's saying explicitly configure Spring JP Open. Okay, that's fine. And if you scroll down a little bit, you will see Spring Boot has given you one security password. Okay, using generated security password, and this one. This is your password generated by Spring Boot. Okay, I just copied it, going back and pasted here. Done. And what's my user name? It's simply just user, user. Okay, that's it. And check out what happens if I sign in. Here we go. We are getting information of the patient here. See, there it is. Status okay, API timestamp, path is this, that's the data of the user, ID1. Let's try ID2. That was for original record, requested to, and now you can see that's the current record. Current email and all that thing is here. Okay, so that's how it works, guys. That's a default security enabled by Spring Boot. Once you add this library, you are getting one security. Now you might ask, okay, so we are getting one default password. Can we configure our own password? Yes, you can do that. You can always configure your own username and password. By default, it's this one. So let's take a screenshot from here. Okay, not from here. Okay, let me show you one more thing, then we will do that. See, you can also log out from here. By default, it gives you all these screens. As soon as you request logout endpoint, or URL. It will ask you, are you sure you want to log out? I'll say yes, log out. Done. You have been signed out.
सर अगेन इसे दोबारा कहाँ से आया था लॉग आउट सर मैंने देखा नहीं दिया
Okay. Very good. Nice. Good going, huh? Okay. So by default, this.
सर दिस इज तो लॉगिन का ये पासवर्ड
Okay. So this is what we get, and why we get this password thing. I'll come back to your question. Okay. Wait. So this is the default password generated by Spring Boot, and it happened because we have added one dependency right there. Copy it. Not this one. Copy it. Okay. So as soon as you do this, we will get one password generated by Spring Boot. Okay. That is simple, not that big. Now, once you request the endpoint, your request, if you request the endpoint, it will give you some screen. So let's see that. So my endpoint is local host 8080. Okay, requesting this. Fine, I'm going to request this. And as soon as I enter, I get this screen.
सर हर बार अलग पासवर्ड जनरेट होगा या फिर
अलग पासवर्ड आएगा बेटा. Every time new password. So once you request this, you will get this URL. So this is a default mechanism provided by this jar-lib. Okay, put it here. Already debugged.
सर
Okay, this is done. So how its sequence goes, then this happens, then this happens. Okay, so we already have a password. So what I can do, I can log in. So going back to the console, this is my password. I copied it, going back to web page, paste it, and by default the username is user, user. Just use this one.
सर स्क्रीन स्क्रीन स्टक हो गई है सर
Check हो गई.
मतलब मेरे लिए तो स्टक हो
नो
गई है
सर
Why?
नो सर
शायद
स्क्रीन
मेरा नेटवर्क
विजुअल
इशू है शायद फिर 1 मिनट
Hmm. It's okay. Come back. So it says default user provided by Spring Security. User. Okay. So this is your password, and at bottom you will get a random password. This is your random password. You're back, Shubham?
यस सर
Okay, fine. This is your default password generated by the Spring Boot. So once you use these credentials, you are able to log in. So let's try to click login or sign in, and we are getting our API response. There it is. So it's working fine, working great. Now, as a typical website, we if we are logging in, definitely we can log out as well. So yes, that functionality is also there. You can also log out. How? Let's see. Let me get one more paint. So what you just need to do, just change your website, okay? Manually you have to do that. Logout. Just type logout. Okay, Vipin? So if you request
Okay, sir.
logout, don't worry, I'm also documenting it. So if you request this URL and press enter, Springboot will ask you this question. Are you sure you want to log out? So definitely I'll say yes, I want to log out. Close this one. Okay. So this will ask this question. Okay, and you will say, okay, I want to log in. Sorry, I want to log out. So going back, I'll say logout, yes, and finally we get this. And you can see the logout, I mean the URL also get here. Now this becomes a URL. URLs keep changing. This becomes a URL now after clicking logout, and you will get this screen. Hmm. Okay, so logout will take you there. So I'll put logout button. I'll add this logout and this will happen. Okay, clear. So you will get this default behavior from Spring Boot itself. You don't need to add any other functionality. Just one library and you get this thing. Think about how big or how powerful these libraries are. You are just adding 4 lines, dependency tag and library name. That's it. But by default, you're getting all this functionality. By default, your APIs are safe at least without generating any token. Just use some login credentials and it will work out. And yeah, in case if you enter wrong password or something, you can also see this some random password and this and just sign. Even it gives you a simple verification that you gave the wrong credentials. So that's really good about Spring. It tracks every single thing. Now save. Let me close all these images. Save. Save. Okay. So we have these images, and yeah, if you give wrong credentials, not on this. If you give wrong credentials, you will get this message that your password is wrong. Bad credentials. Straightforward. Okay, but this is a default behavior. Now maybe you will ask, so every time we get a default or random password, how we can make sure that username password, I mean at least for username it's same, it's always user by default. But what about password? It keeps changing. Right now, if you can see it's here, right? This one, right? Let me do one thing. Um, let's save it. I mean, just want to show you here. This is one password. Let's rerun the application. So I just executed this again. Now you will notice it's different now, right? It's different. So every time your server is down, you need to copy that password and do this thing. Or one good thing about Spring Boot is everything is configurable, right? You can always, almost everything you can configure where in your properties file. Even you can change your properties file multiple things. So let's have a look on that. And in next class, we will learn, I mean, we'll move forward from step 1 to other steps, like adding more security related classes. So we are going to do, let's have a look on application properties file. So let's see application dot properties. Of course, we are going to refer. Okay, let's Google it. This one. Okay, I'm talking about documentation of Spring Boot. I think I already showed you here. Coming back again. So here you can see all these From left side, these are menu bars or index where you can refer all these things what you want to configure. And you can see the scroll bar is quite small. If I scroll, you can see lots of configuration properties are there. If you just want to change the port number, okay, let's say server dot port. There it is. So you just need to this one copy, going back to start the server. Resources, this one. Right now we just have default things. Okay, now you can add this is server port, and let's make it some random number, 4 digit. Okay, so I wrote 9874. So far our default port was 8080. There it is. Tomcat started on port 8080. Let's run this application to see the impact. And you can see Tomcat started on port number 9874. So this time if I request this web page or this API, patient one, localhost, localhost 8081, this one. Let's remove this. Requested, and you will see it will run, and then it says site can't be reached. Obviously, port is down. It's 9874. Entered, and here it goes. So again, you need to give username and password, and it will work. So that's one simple configuration. And in future, we will do lots of configuration here. But for now, this is one of the simplest configuration. Now, as we already noticed, password is keep changing, right? So what you can do, you can use these configuration. Spring security user.name, spring security user.password. So you just give your name, I mean whatever username and name you want, and the password. So I wrote ABC1234. So have this configuration in your project. So by default, this becomes your username, this becomes your password. So you can do some website things here. So let's rerun the application. So these changes will be, you know, visible by the Springboot container or the server. So server is up. Let's go back and request this again. I mean, let's close it. Let's run this again. Local host colon 9874 slash patient slash one. Okay, requesting again. Here we are. Let me write PAWAN and ABC123. These are my credentials. Sign in, and you can say, yeah, it's working. Yep. That's how you can configure your default passwords generated by Spring Boot to your own password. And if you notice, guys, now Spring Boot will no more generate your default password. See, nothing is there. It's blank. So if you give your own credentials, like custom credentials, you can always change it. I mean, Spring Boot won't generate the password for you. So we just saw three basic configuration in application properties, and earlier we already adding details configurations. Okay, so that's it for today. In tomorrow's class, we will add some more code in it and try to generate tokens from the same code. Okay, any question or doubt till today's class? Anything, whatever we saw as theoretical concept or some code section?
No, sir, everything
No,
is
sir.
clear.
Okay. One downside is here if you're using these credentials, so uh, obviously, how would you test your other endpoints, right? Think about post request, put request, because website only works with get request. If I need to put something or post something, it won't work here because you cannot pass body here, and for that we need to use this postman tool, and it's quite unconventional to do the login from the website and then trying to test your endpoints from other tool. So it's fine if you're using any or creating any web page related thing from Spring Boot. Yeah, it's possible. I think I have already told you guys. But from Spring Boot, you can go for your web applications, like you can create web pages, or you can go for only APIs. Nowadays, if you're using Spring Boot, so it's like 90 to 99% cases we are using Spring Boot for APIs only. And for front end, we have other technologies like JavaScript frameworks, like React, Angular, AngularJS, and other Vue, Node. So all these things are which can be used to create backend or front-end related things. So we are not going to do that. We are not going to create any web page from Spring Boot, although it's possible. So if you are creating any web pages through Spring Boot, this technique will be helpful, right? You will get a default web page, and of course you can always customize this login page like we got. This page you can always configure and then later use it. So, but since we are working with APIs, so this mechanism won't help us. So that's why we need to move for token based approach where we generate token and that token will verify all the other requests. So in next class, we'll try to write some more code related to Spring security. Okay guys, thank you very much. Bye bye.